Maryland sports fans, there's only one sports book in the great state of Maryland with over 50 years experience booking bets and supporting customers. Betfred Sportsbook at Longshots is now open and is the only sportsbook in Frederick offering cash betting on football, basketball, world soccer, and more. Visit the Betfred Sportsbook at I-270 and MD-85 in Frederick, right next to Longshots off-track betting. Go to BetfredSports.com for more information and your chance to win exclusive merchandise. Must be 21 or older. Play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, yo, this is Heath with Malcontent. You're listening to The Loud Spot with your boy Sebastian.
Oh, no! Oh, boy! Ah, here it comes! The motherfucking Loud Spot! That's right, you're listening to the almighty Hot Zone! Doing the intro to the Loud Spot podcast! You goddamn right! We're doing intros for podcasts now! And if you don't like it, you can suck the entire circumference of one... Wayne Gretzky with the squeals and the drops! P1E goes hard till it pops! Cannonball, don't trust a cop! Johnny Spotswood just don't know when to stop! Yeah! And if you don't like it, you better take your ass up to the snooty box, cause this is the Loud Spot! Okay, see you later!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Loud Spot. I'm your host, Sebastian Cosme, right out of Oklahoma City. Totally random podcast. Chris Lundeen, what is up, dude?
What's up, Sebastian?
Dude, so you sent me a message on Facebook, and I was sitting there watching TV, and I was like, dude, I get like 500 emails I haven't checked yet, and you put your email in the message, and I was like, fuck it. Let me go check it out right now. And listen to it. And your band is called Betrayal by Blood, a heavy metal band out of Las Vegas, right?
That's right.
And I was like, it might be kind of fun just to do a random, out of nowhere podcast and showcase these guys, because you messaged me something that I felt was very important. You said you have an album dropping tomorrow, or like an EP dropping tomorrow, like a two-song EP, something like that?
Yeah, and tomorrow, as in your time, it's already today in like 14 hours.
yeah, because it's
something like that.
It's 1:14 in the morning here, so I'm gonna edit this tomorrow and then put it on tomorrow night. It's still the same day your album drops, and I listened to it, and the first thing I asked you was who produced that, and you said you did, which also made me feel really good about putting you on the podcast. Because, I'm a big fan of artists doing their own things. Not everyone's managed. Not everyone has producers and managers and record labels helping them out. And then you told me that you had taken some Pro Tools classes or did something with Pro Tools, right?
Yeah, so this is a bit of a throwback. I went to college from like 2006 to 9. And it actually was a total regular, BS 4-year degree. Uh-huh. But I happened to go to a 4-year college that had, a new media program. So I took music production classes. I took Pro Tools recording and editing. Really nowhere near, an IPR degree or anything like that.
Okay. But
just over the years, I've applied it. So.
And, for me, I hear a lot of bands that are well-produced and well-managed. And I was like, it's okay, but you know what I love about it, man? I love the genuineness of it. And I started this podcast to not do bands that are just the most badass bands in the world. I started this podcast to promote local bands was my original idea, and local wherever they're from. And I want to stay true to that concept. And having you on the podcast tonight is an honor for me to play your music, and I'm happy that we're able to showcase you guys right before your album drops. That's cool, man.
You already know I appreciate it back. We very, very briefly talked, but I was like, it's super cool what you're doing. Just like myself, we're both working full-time jobs, but we're doing something we're passionate about.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your band. When did you guys start, and what are you guys all about?
So long story short, the original two members, it never got off the ground. They were going to start it up last year. The three of us that are in the band all worked security together and just kind of happened to meet that way. But they had a different singer. Between COVID and like kind of a hospital thing that happened over the winter, the members they were bringing in bailed. And no bad blood or anything. They had another band they were focused on. And that's all cool. So then basically partially out of boredom and partially out of like the love for music, I previously was always a guitar player, and I've always been like my own band's manager to a degree. I was in two bands before that were regional in the Midwest.
Cool.
And jokingly, I was like, I'll try out for vocals. Because I always knew I probably could do it.
Right,
but
yeah.
We did it, and we couldn't believe how well it worked.
Wow. Dude, there's something about that. I tried out for vocals, and I cannot sing at all, by the way. I tried out for vocals for a band, and all I did was scream. And I don't even think they liked me like that much as a screamer, but I was really good on the stage because I have a lot of energy, and I was like running back and forth, and the band was a good band, but they would just stand there and play hard rock music, which was cool and all, but like, come on guys, like get into the show. And they let me in the
funny
band.
thing about that is how common that is. Like a lot of the really, really good, successful bands out there, if you really look at it, it's always like the singer or one guy who's got the energy and propels it, because there's a million bands out there that have a way better stage chemistry and everything, but they just don't have the sound.
And I hate to say this, but every band needs like a LeBron James. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like one dude who can, even though I'm not a huge fan, whether people like that or not, there's a lot of bands have the one dude that just takes them to that next level because of their energy and their presence and their willingness to continue to work hard.
Yeah, literally, it's an energy thing, because, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, every band needs nothing but members that are good. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But you need the superstar.
Sorry, to continue on about the, how we form thing. So, the drummer, Caleb, is the one who wanted to start the band. He moved out here from California and had just been jamming with a bunch of dudes doing cover songs and stuff. And he's like, man, I've done that my whole life. I want to like do something original finally. And then our guitarist moved out from New York and was in a death metal band. So we're kind of like a beautiful fusion of three styles of metal.
Okay.
That just happened to meet just right.
I like the name Betrayal by Blood. That's a good name, and it's hard to come up with band names. Like I've been in probably 30 bands. It's always like, what do you want the band? And it's hard to come up with something original that's gonna stick. That is a good name. How long did you say you guys been a band for?
So I joined in July, and just kind of hit the ground running.
Okay, so very recent. So are you the one that kind of promotes the bands, like you promote the band mostly? Are you the one going out there and like reaching out, or is everyone else kind of doing that?
It's myself and Caleb. Before I was involved, like he was the one doing all the recruiting to try and find a vocalist, or we're still looking for a bass player, but like we were able to track the album fairly heavy, or the EP fairly heavy enough as is, so we just rolled with it.
Do you guys have a bass player? Do you guys have a bass? Is someone playing the bass on these songs?
No. I don't want to give away my secrets on that, because that was a production trick that I used.
Oh, so there is actually a bass in there then.
Yeah, and that was me. But yeah, and it's not what you think, but it was all about production.
Hey, any of my players or any of the music that I play and listeners that are in like really big bands that are managed, and you like what they're doing and maybe want to help them out, you guys got to hit up Chris Lundeen. He's going to be on, I got to add him on Facebook. You're not on my Facebook page because you messaged me on my podcast page. So I got to.
Which you never replied to, and it was just dumb luck.
I replied to it. I replied to it tonight. Didn't I? And I was like,
Yeah, no.
what's your number?
I was joking.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
joking about that.
Yeah. And I was like, what's your number? And then you get you, and I called you. And like I said, I want to stay genuine to myself. And no matter how, whatever we wind up doing with this podcast, I always want to be able to play bands that are trying to get their name out there, especially if your album's about to drop. Make sure you reach out to me and don't just be like, hey, here's my, my Spotify or my YouTube video. Like, I need an MP3. I need it. And if your album's about to drop, now if I get like 10 bands saying their album's going to drop, I might not get a hold of you that night. Or I might have 10 bands on the Zoom call. I don't know. Well, we only have 45 minutes, though, so I don't know if we could play all 10 bands if that were to ever happen.
Yeah, you got to create and innovate and roll with it.
Yeah, hey, we're rolling with it right now, dude. Thank you very much. Okay, the first song you want to play, was it Hindsight or Throne?
I was going to lead with Throne if that's cool, because that's the title track.
Hey, this is your show, brother. We're gonna do what you want to do. Let's do Throne.
Appreciate it, Bob.
Yep, this is Betrayal by Blood with Chris Lundeen, and this song is called Throne. Let's rock it right now. Play.
I'm coming for the throne. The protagonist of all destruction, like that man of sound. You're always the key. Without them we survive. Without them we are free. I've been a master. And you don't stay. Your conscience effort, no longer in your trade. For every profit, for all mistakes, for hate, for grace, you're gonna bleed. For every profit, coming for the throne. History is going. The protagonist. Destruction, like a man of sound. You're always the key. Without them we survive. Without them we are free. We are free.
You know what? If you guys got in a studio, like a major studio, that song right there would be fucking killer, dude. Like, literally, live, I guarantee you, I want to let all my listeners know right now, I guarantee you guys live sound really, really good. Because I can take something I hear, and I'm not like, saying, oh, well, it should sound better. What I'm saying is it sounds good. It just, in a studio with the management team and all that, that song right there is a hit, dude. That's what I think.
Well, I appreciate it. I was debating how much I'm going to let out about this, but the production I did, it's on a 14-year-old all-in-one iMac.
So yeah. Let's keep it real, dude. Let's keep it real because it's. I think it's important for not only my show to stay authentic, and just not be like, oh, your band's so good. You really want to give good criticism, especially to bands like yours that are trying to do some good things, and you guys are in the metal scene. So how many shows did you guys? So okay, you started in July, so you haven't probably played any shows.
Nope, we haven't played any shows. We did one live take of that song when I was 3 or 4 weeks in the band, and my vocals are still really, really raw. But I felt good enough about it, and we were tight enough on the song that we said screw it, and we put it online, and it's doing really well. It's got 5,000 plays so far.
Hey, put your balls out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Look. I started this podcast only 2 months ago, and I suck at podcasting. And
you're wrong. You're actually pretty damn good at it.
Oh, so. Thanks. I just like to talk. That's my problem. I have a talking problem. I have the gift of gab, and but my sound quality is not always right where I want it to be, and that's okay. I'm learning every day something new. And different programs to use, and I'm learning how to master things, which I wasn't good at before. Have you listened to the podcast ever?
Yeah, so, shoot, I'd have to, go to your YouTube quick to remember which video it was.
Oh!
There's a specific video that got me.
Jesus Christ. I quit doing those videos because I need to get them better mastered. But, yeah.
Yeah. But what it was is, one of the many metal communities on Facebook, I spotted your podcast. I noticed you had really good branding for the way you were starting out, and I caught that one podcast, and I was like, man, this looks like this guy, however big it is, it could take off for one positive thing. It's authentic for another positive thing.
For sure.
And he's fun to podcast with. This would be cool.
Yeah.
So
I definitely like to have fun. I get sometimes I get some serious, some really serious guys in bands that aren't really, they're not you can't really joke around too much. But I always try
they're trying to make everything too official.
Yeah. And me, I don't do that. I'm in business, even in my business that I do. I work with a bunch of serious attorneys, and I joke around all the time. I'm like the jokester. We actually had a Zoom call with the attorneys and me when we were all working from home, and the guy that owns a law firm was and he loves me, He's like, yeah, there's always that one guy, and I'm that guy.
Yeah,
I'm that one.
I'm that guy all day, every day at work, and I'm working a fairly serious access control job, so
yeah, you gotta have fun, Hey, you live, as far as we know, you live one life, and if it's not fun and you're just always, giving a frowny face, it's what do people say? At work, they're always oh, it's Monday. I'm like, just be happy you have a fucking job right now, you piece of shit.
Yeah, no joke.
God damn. I don't like naysayers, and when I called you on the phone and you answered, your personality seemed like it immediately kind of vibed with mine, and I was like, fuck it, we're doing a podcast right now. That wasn't my intention when I called you, by the way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. My intention was to say, hey, I'll play you guys. Thanks for sending me the song. And then when you answered all lively, you're like, and I was like, let's do a podcast. You're like, okay. I was like, do it. Let's go. Let's go.
There we go. That's rock and roll right there. What's more rock and roll than that?
There's nothing. That is so true. I know the band, and you've only been with them since July, so you can only speak for yourself and not the whole band, I guess. What would you say your influences are as far as music goes?
All right, so I'm just going to hit the main points. Early on, when I got into actually writing music, it would have been heavily like, oh man, I would say as a kid, Metallica. And then from there, you grow and you get older and you get into the wilder stuff. And like, I got into Killswitch Engage, Trivium, Shadows Fall, Lamb of God, like that whole power metalcore scene in the early mid-2000s. And then my second band, because our first band was very much like that. Second band was like, once again, the hit of what was happening when I was just out of college, and that was the stuff that's like Whitechapel, Despised Icon, Ion Dissonance. So I kind of come from that metalcore and then extreme heaviness myself.
That's cool, dude. So my favorite band, I said it on a few other podcasts, is like Rancid. Like I love Rancid. Punk. But I also love Lamb of God and bands like Slipknot. And, if someone asked, I think about this sometimes. If someone asked me what my influences were, I don't even know that I would have one. Because I do music also, but I also go, how old are you?
32.
Okay, so I'm 38, and I even go back to like early 90s R&B. Because that was kind of my thing before I got into rock music when I was in 9th grade because of my friend Evan. He showed me Sublime. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. And then I completely changed. I was like, I'm a rocker now, not a rapper. That was that thing back in the day, are you a rocker or a rapper, And I'm from California, so I went from listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony and the guy that sings Return of the Mac, Mark Morrison, I think his name is.
Oh yeah.
To listening to Sublime and Metallica and then Green Day. And then I was a huge Offspring fan for a while.
You're right up my alley on all of this. So.
Yeah, and then it was a little bit later I started listening to Deftones. I didn't like Deftones at first, but as I got older, I became a huge Deftones fan. I know, they're not going to hear this podcast anyways, probably. but I became a huge Deftones fan afterwards.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, the only one that I remember liking way long ago, I think, was Change. Just because something about that one just catches you.
Oh, from the Deftones? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But after I, spent a little time writing music, and it wasn't until I saw him. I saw him on, I think it was Sounds of the Underground in, 2005. And it was, Deftones, As I Lay Dying, Behemoth. I believe it was, the Power Tour, where they had everybody, Atreyu. It was crazy.
Atreyu's dope, man. Atreyu is dope. One of my favorite bands is a band called Sleep for the Weak. And they're one of my favorite bands, right now. I love that band. I'm friends with Steven Seward, who is they have two vocalists. And that band is just, the guys are so awesome. They go on big places, and I love their music. I made my background picture on my Facebook page their band. And so I think people might think I'm in that band, but I'm not in the band. I
actually do think you might be in that band at first because it's just the general promotion.
Oh, did you find me on Facebook?
Yeah, before. This is just off memory.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We'll figure out adding each other and all that.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But I think people think I'm in that band, but I'm not. My best friend I grew up with, who showed me the bands that I started liking in 9th grade, painted that picture for them. And so, hey, if your band wants a picture, he does band drawings. He actually did my podcast post. And I want to let you know something. Branding your band is so important now than it has ever been before. Ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your album cover looks like yet, or any of that.
It's going to be over this stream, but I can give you a good little, preview of a vinyl we had done.
Show it to me.
I got you right here.
Well, you got a vinyl? Did you have a vinyl?
Well, so it's not a vinyl like vinyl audio. It's a canvas vinyl art.
Nice, dude. That looks good. Okay, so it's not a record.
So this is I'll give you a little more full tilt. Like you said, do it yourself. I kind of went insane and did everything as a second full-time job real quick. I graphic designed our logo.
Good for you.
Did a bunch of merch up, so we've got like a big cartel. Actually, like we talked about, you kind of got to innovate. Just because of pricing options, our other merch site is Etsy.
Okay.
Which I've never heard of.
My wife knows what that is, I think. I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what Etsy is, but I know my wife knows what that is.
Exactly. It's basically it allowed me to host a bunch of stuff because I've released all of my band's music under a faux record label that I'm making a real record label now that we're doing this.
Good for you, man. I started a record label called Probably Not Famous Records. it's just me and my buddy, and we're probably not famous. And so that's why we do it. But you know what? I'm happy that you are doing that. You've been in the band since July, and you are working hard and putting yourself out there to get the name out for the music. And that is, so many bands are lazy and they don't do that. And some of them are like super good, like fantastic. But if you're lazy, you're not going to make it. That's all there is to it.
It's sad. I know I can think of so many bands back in the day that if the effort would have been put in, they were better than like 99% of the bands on tour.
I've heard them, and I've heard them on my podcast even. I'm like, man, you guys are good. And I can tell also a lot of bands I'll get with and I'll say, let's do an interview, get on the podcast showcase. Yeah, man, that sounds good. And then they don't ever get back with me. And but then you go to their band page and then they're not doing anything either.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything. And if you want to make it and you want to make it big, it doesn't matter that you're doing the music yourself right now and producing it yourself. What matters is that you're branding yourself, you're reaching out to people like me and others and getting your name out there, and that's what's important. And that, to me, brother, that's respect.
Well, I appreciate it. That was one of our big conversations, like me joining the band is, I mentioned I was in 2 bands before, each for about 3 years. And our guitarist was in one that he took seriously in New York. And like both of us and all 3 of us really were like, the thing is, we're not going to be so serious that it's like everything isn't fun. But at this point, it's like, if we're going to do a band, we might as well try.
Yeah, you exactly. Exactly. You might as well try. See, we only needed 2 songs from you because we've already been on this thing for like almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, like you said, we vibe pretty quick. So, like, chatting about everything is just easy. But,
is there a second singer on the song Throne that we just played? Is there a second singer on there, or is that just you doing 2 different screaming styles?
That was just me doing 2 different, and one of them is a really generic one that our guitarist can replicate.
Cool, man. Well, let's play Hindsight, and then we have about 60 minutes right now. We'll play Hindsight. It's 3 minutes, 46 seconds long, and then we'll continue our chat. We'll end the podcast, but after we end the podcast, I don't want you to go anywhere. I want you to stay right there. But we're going to play Hindsight, and then we'll finish some conversations. So this is Hindsight. Once again, the band is called Betrayal by Blood. If anybody that's in like a really kind of like a more managed band wants to seek them out, please contact them. Chris Lundeen, he'll be my friend on Facebook here in just a little bit. And I mean, I'm excited to see where you guys go, man. You guys are growing. I can tell you have the right attitude for what it takes to make it. And so that's awesome, dude. All right, here we go. Right now. Hindsight. All right, and that was a song, Hindsight by Betrayal by Blood. Man, so I'm so stupid, dude. I was trying to talk to you, so I lowered the music on my speakers, and then I realized I couldn't hear you when I lowered the music on my speakers. The podcast doesn't pick that up, but my ears do. So, okay, so here's my question to you. When you scream and when you're recording, do you drink honey? Did you hear me?
Sorry, cut out there for a second. But when I record, I do have a little bit of honey before.
Oh, you really do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to smooth the throat a little bit, right?
Yeah, so that's a trick that I picked up from my vocalist in the band, Son of the Tempest. That was our deathcore band, so everything he was doing was insane. Like, I'm pretty sure he would empty like a quarter bottle of honey every time we recorded, just because it was so. He didn't hurt himself, but it's just so tasking.
It is, and I actually, when I used to scream for a band, I actually ruined one of my voice is not the same as it used to be because of I can't like a really high pitch I can't even attempt to do it because it sounds so stupid. If I try to get like monotone, I can't. My voice doesn't do that. That whatever that was in my throat that could do that. After screaming, it just kind of went away, and I realized
you damaged your vocal cords. I
did.
You probably didn't do it full out, but you noticed it in that one range, like you're talking about.
My wife literally is like, "You're tone deaf." I'm like, "I'm not tone deaf. I just fucked something up a long time ago, and I can't get it back." If I try to do it, it just like sounds scratchy, and that kind of sucks. And I can't even really scream anymore because when I try it doesn't sound like when I was 22, 23, 24, dude, I could scream, man. I love screaming. Now, when I scream like in the car, it just sounds like complete doo-doo. Like, I even know it, but I still do it on my way to work to get me pumped up because I know it's going to be boring. So like,
oh hell yeah, just crank it up, get yourself ready to go because you got to get through the whole day to get back to where you can do that again.
Dude, honey and tea are the best things. I think your band. Look, you've only been in the band for 2 months. In 2 years, I'm gonna follow you through these next couple years. Okay, I'm gonna let everybody know right now if your band stays together for 2 years from today's date, I'm going to play you guys again. I'm actually going to play Throne. And then, so do not lose that MP3. I'll lose it. You don't lose it. You keep.
Nah, you don't got to worry about that. That's my, I'm completely anal about all of my files. Like, I have everything back to 2006 when it comes to audio stuff, and that was my first releases. So
I want you to keep that song Throne on your MP3 and Hindsight, and then in 2 years, once we talk again, we're gonna tell everybody, I told you so, because I can tell from not only your personality but your perseverance and what you're trying to accomplish, that as long as the band stays together, even if the band doesn't stay together, I think you yourself are going to accomplish a lot in the metal scene. It may not be with this band, maybe with another band, but if it is with this band, then that would be so awesome also. And I don't know the other guys in the band, so I don't know them. I know you, and I can just tell by us talking on the phone that you have a drive and you have a mission.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, and honestly, I see the band sticking together.
Good.
Like, for the first time in a long time. I swore myself off. I thought I was going to be done in 2011. And, of course, a couple people talked you into trying to do bands. So, get this. Do you follow metal hardcore, fairly well?
No, man, God, you know what? God, I hate it. To be honest, I really don't. Some of my favorite bands now are, Escape the Fate and Ronnie's and Falling in Reverse. I love Falling in Reverse. I don't follow metal hardcore. I do because of the podcast. I get mostly metal bands. So I kind of do now, and I love it, But I follow more kind of like post-hardcore kind of.
Yeah. I mean, you're still on the cusp a little bit. My whole point was, so I did talk myself back into it. The whole reason is my best friend that I started playing guitar with when I was 13 years old has never been in a band, never been on stage. And he's one of those guys who's crazy good at guitar.
Okay.
So he and I were jamming with these dudes, and we were just jamming. But they were talking us, and every time we jam, they begged to start a band. So I'm 2 bands in already, and we have 4 songs, and I know that we can get 2 more done in like the month. So I'm like, all right, here's the thing. You guys talk to me about doing this. I'm going to call to my promoter buddy. Like, if you're in, I'm going to call him back at the end of this practice. We're opening for the Bury Your Dead reunion tour when it comes to town.
Yeah.
And so get this. After that practice, they fall off the face of the earth, and I have to call them back in a week and say, you still got a month for the show, just fill it. I'm so sorry. Yada, yada, yada. So this is the first time in 9 years that I felt confident about the dudes I'm, like, working with again.
Yeah, and Vegas has... I used to live in Vegas. I was actually in a band in Vegas for a very short time. They wind up... I left Vegas, and they got another drummer. I was a drummer. They got another drummer who was a lot better than I was. And they were called Conflict of Interest, and they played a lot of big shows. But the Vegas scene has a really good scene. Like, the Vegas metal scene is actually a big... I don't think people realize that. It's a big thing out there.
Yeah, like, Molotov Solution was a pretty big one. Nick filled in for Thy Art for, like, 2 years.
Whereabouts? Because I lived off exit 48, which is like Craig Road.
Oh, okay.
Near the Air Force Base.
Closer to the center of town. But so, for reference, all of this stuff before I'm talking about, that for me would have been Minnesota. That was the Twin Cities.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm living like a mile west of the Strip.
Oh, so you're close to all the prostitutes. Are there?
I'm right on the edge of where it just gets nice.
Are there prostitutes during COVID? Or are they still prostituting around? I knew a girl that was I actually knew a prostitute out there.
But when the actual 3-month shutdown hit, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Because I could go for a block walk. Like at the time, I just moved half a year ago. I walked around the entire Gold Coast casino and didn't see a soul.
Dude, I'm going to challenge you to write a song right now, and I'm going to name it for you. You're going to write a metal song called When the Bands and Prostitutes Went Broke.
that one might be a bit of a sidebar, It might be.
It's gonna be your biggest hit. It's gonna be your biggest hit that you've ever wrote. It's gonna get famous. Sony Records is gonna sign you guys. They're like, fuck yeah, we like that song When the Bands and Prostitutes Went Broke. Because that, my friend, is a song to jam.
I'm trying to think of what bands would just roll with that name as this is our biggest one we're going to promote.
You know what band's going to do that? It's called Betrayal by Blood.
Okay.
What band's going to do that?
This Sebastian guy's pretty smooth. He might talk me into it. We'll see.
I wrote a song called, it's a country song, okay? I live in Oklahoma, so it's a country song.
But all your exes live in Texas.
But all my exes live in California, actually. But yeah. What the heck is the name of that song I wrote? Oh my God, it's actually a really funny name. Low Budget Porn Star.
Nice.
Low Budget Porn Star. And I wrote it as kind of like a hip hop, funny rap song. And my buddy who's a producer is like, dude, this has to be a country song. And so we found a guy to play guitar and sing. And then we recorded it. He's like, don't put that on Facebook. I was like, why? He's like, my wife will not approve of that. So we had to hide it. But it's like the funniest song, dude, in the world. It's really good. I'll play it. I'll play it one day.
That's awesome. When I was in Summon, the other guitarist tonight, very belligerently drunk, wrote a song called "Titties in My Face." So I know exactly what you're talking about.
See, I love stuff like that. I love stuff like that. Look, man, we got literally 1 minute and 3 seconds left. I'm going to play the outro song by Nothing Short of Tragic. Eric Bones, one of my best friends, grew up with him in California. And then I want you to stay right there, and we'll talk a little bit after the podcast. So, hey, I hope everybody liked Betrayal by Blood. Chris Lundeen, you're a funny dude, man. And we're going to continue the conversation after I hang up here, so stay right there.
Appreciate you, man.